Back when I was selling weed, I'd make people show me their butthole to make sure they weren't cops. I learned two things from that proposition. One, most people don't like weed that much. And two, most cops will show you their butthole.
So are you Coach Meyer or are you Tim Tebow?
Ladies and gentlemen, we interrupt our program of dance music to bring you a special bulletin from the Intercontinental Radio News.
Take me out to the ball game. Take me out to the ground.
Hey, howdy, hi, and how the hell are you? Welcome to the sports page as we take you out to the ball game here on a Monday. Programming note, we will do this again, and it will be a part of the pregame festivities for Thursday night's Titans San Francisco game. So that will drop pregame. So we're talking around, give or take around 7:30-ish, as the kickoff is around little past 8. And Tones and I will come on the air, do a little bit of a pregame, get you set for the game, and we plan on bringing you the Titans hosting San Francisco in what is a huge game with playoff implications. And assuming it does not get affected by COVID, we will bring that to you. If that gets ixnayed, there is a bowl game that night. We might just flip the script and go over there. But as of right now, we're planning on doing Titans San Francisco, and that'll be a big game, big playoff implications. Of course, anyone involved in fantasy football, there's a lot going on. We'll get into week number 16 in a little bit, but let's go ahead and talk about week number 15, as you've got a game going on right now. As this episode is dropping, I'm recording it right before or right as they're kicking off the Cleveland game. So the biggest news with that is that Mayfield will not play. It's going to be Nick Mullins instead, because Case Keenum will not play, both of them on the COVID list. And the line has flipped from the Browns being a 3-point favorite to a 3-point underdog. What do I like the most about this game? I like the under. It's 41.5. I'm actually doing a tease on it, but I do like the under on this. I feel like that this is going to be a low-scoring game. But, of course, by the time you hear this, the game will have kicked off. As far as tonight, what do I like in this? Minnesota and Chicago. If the site will allow you to do it, some sites will and some sites won't. I like taking Minnesota on a teaser down to minus 0.5 right now. They're a 6.5-point favorite. So if you take them on a 6-point teaser and then push the over-under up so you can grab the under. Because it's going to be chilly in Chicago. I think it's going to be a fairly low-scoring ball game. The Bears don't put up a lot of points to begin with, and so that's what I like in that game. Now, we've also got a couple of games tomorrow, and we don't want to skate past that, as we will not be here tomorrow, so I want to go ahead and jump on that. You got the Seahawks and Rams at 7 o'clock. You got Washington and the Eagles at 7 o'clock. Both games are going to be televised on Fox regionally, so you pretty much you can split, in all likelihood. If you're east of the Mississippi, you're going to get the Eagles. If you're west of the Mississippi, you're going to get the Rams. In all likelihood, that's what's going to happen. Now, different station managers will go out and request different games, but all in all, you typically, that's how they're going to do it. They're going to do it regionally. I am against this. I think they should be televising both games separately. I think you could have put Eagles Washington on at either 5, 6 o'clock Eastern, and you could have put the Rams and Seahawks at 8 or 9 o'clock Eastern. A lot of people are off this week or working very little. They don't mind staying up late watching a good football game, and it'd be a nice doubleheader. But that's not the way it's set up, and Fox wants both games. I don't see why Fox, or why the NFL would not allow Fox, let me put it that way, to put this game, to put one of the games on FS1, right? Or FX, whatever they wanted to let them do. Fox owns more stations than just Fox and Fox News. So they could have easily have done that, but they did not. So those lines, you got Seattle and the Rams. The Rams are a 7-point favorite. The Eagles are a 6.5 point favorite. The easy tease that I think a lot of people would go with is you grab the two home teams, you tease it down to basically a point and a half point apiece, and away you go. I think there's a very good chance that both home teams get the wins tomorrow night. I think Washington, well, first of all, a lot of it's going to have to do with COVID protocols. But depending on who's allowed to play for Washington, I don't think they're going to be able to put up a lot of points on the Eagles. The Eagles' defense has been playing pretty well. And the Rams, they should be motivated with the Cardinals losing to really put the floor down, put the pedal to the metal, and hammer it to the floor and try to blow out the Seahawks, because they don't want them hanging around. They don't want to be dealing with this late in the ball game, late fourth quarter, and you're down a score or up a score. You don't want to be dealing with that. So that's what you have there. All right, let's go ahead and talk about what happened yesterday. Some of the big news coming out, obviously, I'm sure most of you have heard, but just to reiterate, Godwin, wide receiver from the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, he is out for the season with the torn ACL. So, what does that mean? Well, it means that they're going to be hurting. Now, they do get Antonio Brown back this week from suspension, so that's huge. Brett Perryman will be able to step in. But obviously, Brown is the key. And then, of course, Evans. They should be able to move the ball, but I think what is more important for the Tampa Bay Buccaneers to have success, because the defense is playing well, Leonard Fournette has got to get healthy for the playoffs. So whatever that takes, if it means you've got to sit him for extra time and maybe you take a couple of lumps, you're still going to win the division. You've got a 3-game lead with 3 games to play. Your magic number is 1 to win the division. So you're still going to win the division. I think what you really have to focus on if you're the Bucs is getting him healthy. You're going to host the first round. You may even host the second round, depending on how you finish out. But when you look at the big picture, they're most likely not going to get the bye. There's some things that could go into play that could get them that bye. But in all likelihood, the Bucs will not get the bye. If they're not going to get the bye, I'm not going to stress this out. You've got Arizona, you've got the Rams if they get to 10-4 with the win over Seattle. And then, of course, you got the Green Bay Packers, who have clinched their division. They're 11-3 as well. Dallas is 10-4. Now, Tampa obviously would have the tiebreaker on Dallas because of the head-to-head first game of the season. If Tampa Bay does not have a healthy Leonard Fournette for the playoffs, that offense you saw last night is the offense you're going to see, because Jones isn't going to get it done. They have to have a bruiser. There were a couple of plays or a couple of short yardage plays that they were not able to convert. And why was that? It was because they didn't have that power back that'll stick his damn nose in the line and get bloody, get dirty, and get the first down. And whether you're a Fournette fan or not, he will do that. Ronald Jones likes to sit out there and he likes to dance around, et cetera, et cetera. You got a better chance on 4th and 1 of ramming Brady up the middle. So that's going to be item number 1 to get the Bucs healthy. Item number 2, as far as Tampa Bay Buccaneers are concerned, Tom Brady gets his 15th Pro Bowl selection, most ever. Incredible accomplishment. I know a lot of people do not like Tom Brady. I am not in that camp. And I will say, first of all, congratulations. And second of all, just realize what you're watching right now, because I did that when I was younger. Spent a lot of energy hating certain athletes because they weren't playing for my team, and not enough time appreciating the players who played for other teams. Tom Brady, greatest quarterback of all time, top to bottom. And it looks like we'll get him for at least one more year, barring any kind of catastrophe as far as injury or whatever. Arizona Cardinals drop a big one to Detroit. And I had that. I called it. It's West Coast, East Coast. It's Monday night game and a Sunday morning kickoff. They also lost one of their best players. They'll adjust. They'll be okay. But you cannot expect a team to have a short week, lose a big piece, and go on the road to the National Football League with an early kickoff when they are a West Coast team and play up to premium level. It was like they never got awake, and that's what you get. Looking at the rest of the NFC, essentially when we're talking about the playoffs, and we'll do that here with the AFC here in 1 second, but I'm looking at, so we got 3 weeks to go. Right now, the Saints slid in to the 7th seed. Now, Minnesota and Washington and Philadelphia all have a chance to tie them. So we could have a 3-way tie by Wednesday morning for the final slot in the NFC playoffs. We're at least going to have a 2-way tie because Washington and Philly, unless they end up tying each other, someone's got to win that game, right? San Francisco's right there. They got a tough road game against Tennessee on Thursday night. I believe that those 2 slots, with those 5 teams, it's going to be a dogfight. San Francisco, Saints, Washington, Minnesota, Philadelphia. And an outside chance, not much of one, but an outside chance for Atlanta or Seattle. But both of those teams pretty much have to run the table. You look over to the AFC, the Chiefs are now the number 1 seed. The thing nobody wanted to see Kansas City get the 1 seed. And here they come. 10-4. They got a 1-game lead on both New England and Tennessee. Tennessee missed a golden opportunity yesterday to beat Pittsburgh and be the 1 seed once again. They couldn't take care of the ball. If you don't take care of the ball in the National Football League in November, December, and January, you're not going to win football games. And that's what happened. Constant turnovers. I believe the ball ended up on the ground a total of 5 times. You can't win on the road like that. It's impossible. Losing Henry has hurt him. No Julio Jones. Julio Jones got banged up and left the game. Hurt him. A.J. Brown hurts him. But more than anything else, they've got to hold on to the ball. And that's going to be a tough, hard-fought game on Thursday night. Those are 2 teams that are kind of mirror each other, don't they? They're 2 teams with tough defenses. They'd like to run the ball on the ground. They've got quarterbacks issues, but they also have a quarterback play that when it's set up with the running game can play well. So Tennessee just has to figure out a way to win. What do they got? 3 games left, and they've got a 2-game lead, so you do the math. Now, the Colts had a big W. They're going to play the Cardinals this weekend. It'll be interesting to see if the Cardinals bounce back. That's going to be a big, big game. Looking forward to that. That is Saturday. That's on a Christmas Day. So looking forward to that. And then, of course, the Bengals. Well, the Bengals went out, and Cincinnati has put themselves right back in the race again for the division. They're leading the division right now. They're 8-6. Titans 9-5. New England 9-5. Kansas City 10-4. So those are your division leaders right now. Right now, if the playoffs ended in the AFC, Colts, Chargers, Bills, but the Ravens are tied with the Bills. Also, Cleveland playing today, if they win, that they would give themselves, it would become a 4-way tie between the Chargers, Bills, and Browns. With the Steelers just a half game behind. They're hanging around. Miami is sitting at 7-7. Denver at 7-7. Hate to tell both those fan bases, but too little too late. I know Miami's hot. They're on a roll. They've won a lot of games. They've played a lot of bad teams, but they've capitalized. They are going to have, this is the back end of their schedule. There's the last 3 games. Saints, Titans, Patriots. Damn near impossible to run the table on that. And they would have to run the table. I don't think 8 losses is going to get you in to the AFC playoffs. Not this year. I think 8 losses, you're going to be just on the outside looking in. You got the Steelers this weekend. They've got yet another big game. They're going to go play at the Chiefs. That's the 4:25 kickoff on Sunday. So I would assume that's Romo and Nance. So you get that call. You like that. But the Steelers have a rough stretch. They got to play the Chiefs, the Browns, and the Ravens. I think they're going to be on the outside looking in. You look at the Browns. If they find a way to win today at Packers, Steelers, Bengals, it's manageable. The Packers game you don't like, but it's manageable the rest of the way. And then when you look at the Bills, they host the Patriots this Sunday, Falcons, and the Jets. The Bills are in very good position. Even if they lose at New England. They're home against the Falcons and Jets to end the season. I'm putting the Bills in. I think that I'm putting the Colts in. I don't think the Colts are going to fall on their face. And they've got the Cardinals. They're at the Cardinals. That's going to be a tough one. Christmas night, 8:15 on the NFL Network. But then they got the Raiders in their own backyard and at the Jaguars. The Jaguars are an absolute mess. Those are 2 wins to finish the season. As far as the division is concerned, Tennessee needing to just kind of find a way to close it out. They get the 49ers at home on Thursday night. Then they're at home against the Dolphins the following Monday. So they got 10, 11 days in between those 2 games, and then they're at the Texans. These are winnable games, and the Titans could finish 12-5. If they get to 12-5, they've got an outside chance of getting that bye. The Chiefs, they're going to play the Steelers. They're at the Bengals. They're at the Broncos. These are 3 games they're going to be favored in. But I wouldn't sleep on that Bengals game. I think the Bengals will give them all they want, and the Broncos will play them tough in Mile High, whether they have anything to play for or not. There's a lot of pride in that Denver-Kansas City series. So Kansas City, there's a lot left to do here. And as far as New England is concerned, New England is in very good shape. They're playing the Bills, and then they play the Jaguars, and then at the Dolphins. So they're kind of flip-flopping around. I told you a second ago that the Bills are at the Patriots, and then they have a couple of easy ones with the Falcons and Jets. For all intents and purposes, this game this weekend, Bills versus Patriots, it is for the whole enchilada. It's for the division because New England sits at 9-5, Buffalo 8-6. If Buffalo gets the W, you're going to have some very interesting tiebreaker scenarios down the stretch. Right now, New England would probably still get the tiebreaker. Yeah, they would at this point. That would put them 6-2 in the division. The Bills 5-3, so they're going to lose out on the divisional record. But it would put them in a dead-footed tie with the Bills, and then the Bills are going to have to beat New England outright for the division because they would have tied head-to-head. If New England wins this weekend, it's over. They have the tiebreaker, a 2-game lead with 2 to play, clinches the division. So huge game on Sunday at 1 o'clock. A couple other things out there on the docket. Bosa for the Chargers. He is out this weekend because of COVID. Now they're playing the Texans. They probably don't need him. And then they get the Broncos and Raiders. The Chargers have the ability to run the table with that. At the Texans, at home against Denver, and at the Raiders. 3 very winnable games, but will they do it? And if they run the table, I honestly think the Chargers only need to win 2 of those games. Chargers win 2 of those games and go 10-7, they're in the playoffs. Right now, if I'm handicapping it, this is who I'm putting in. I've got Kansas City, New England, Tennessee, and I'll go ahead and say that Cincinnati finds a way to win the division. My wild cards, Colts, bang, put them in. I think the Buffalo Bills are going to find a way to get in. I know it hasn't been pretty, but I think they're going to find a way to get in. And considering everything that's out there, even with Eckler going on the COVID-19, I'm going to go ahead and put the Chargers in as my last wild card. I just find too many holes in Pittsburgh, Cleveland, and Baltimore. They're all going to play each other. They're all going to knock each other around. And I have a hard time seeing one of them going on a tear. If Pittsburgh upsets Kansas City this weekend, scratch everything I said. But I don't think it's going to happen. As far as the NFC, if I'm handicapping that right now, obviously the Packers have won their division. I think they'll end up getting the bye, which is huge. And you'll also have to beat them twice in Green Bay. Green Bay will get 2 games at home. And you got to find a way to beat them. Now, Tampa Bay did it last year in the NFC Championship game. We all remember that. But that's not an easy task, January in Lambeau. Dallas is going to win the East. Bucks are going to win the South. The West, I'm starting to think it might be the Rams. So if that were to happen, you put the Cardinals. It really depends on what they can start getting out of A.J. Green and company. But I'm really concerned about all their weapons. So you put the Cardinals in the first wild card, I think. Because the Cardinals, not only do they got to play the Colts, they're at the Cowboys the following week and they're home against Seattle. They've got a tough stretch. But I do think they find a way in the playoffs. I figure it's a wild card at this point. What a strange season, because a couple of weeks ago they looked like the best team in the NFL. You look at the rest of the league, if you put the Rams and you put the Cardinals in, then you got 2 wild cards. And who are you going to put in there? I have a hard time doubting Sean Payton. So I'm going to put the Saints in there as a wild card. They're going to find a way in. And then the last one, look, I like the 49ers and I like what they're doing. It really comes down to the Rams need to win that final game. If the Rams don't have to win that final game and they're resting everybody, the 49ers will make the playoffs because they're at Tennessee, but whether they win that game or not, then they're at home against the Texans. Book it. And then they go to the Rams, and the Rams may not be playing for a damn thing. So I kind of have to lean with the 49ers, but if there's one team that I'm intrigued by and curious to see if they can make that run themselves, it would be the Eagles. They get Washington twice, they get the Giants, and they finish it off with the Cowboys. Now, the Cowboys are a good team, but they're not going to be playing anybody in week number 6. I guess that's week 18, but the 17th game of the season. It's just not going to happen. So, with all that being said, if I'm gonna have a team on the outside looking in that I think could make that run, it would be Philadelphia. I feel like the Falcons and Seahawks are going to just crap out. The Panthers are done. The Vikings always seem a way to just not play well enough. And they get the Bears twice, which are winnable, but they'll probably drop one of those games. And they're at home against the Rams. That is not an easy game. And they got to go to the Packers. I think they're going to end up with 9, I think they'll end up with 9 losses. And 8-9 is not going to get you in the playoffs this year. So that'll about do it for us here. I think I've covered all the major things. Oh, UConn women fall out of the top 10 for the first time since 2005. Look, I don't follow a lot of women's college basketball. I followed it much more when Pat Summitt and the Lady Vols were roaming the courts and kicking ass and taking names. But that's newsworthy. When you talk about the UConn Lady women, when you say women's college basketball, whether you're a fan or not, the first thing that pops in your mind is UConn. It used to be UConn and Tennessee, but Tennessee's been down for about a decade. But regardless, to see something like that fall, that's going to be like the day when Alabama finally falls out of the top 25. It's that kind of newsworthy. All right, we will see you on Thursday. We'll have a little Take Me Out to the Ball Game sports page action pre-kickoff around 7:30 Eastern. And until then, you got 2 football games tonight, NFL. You've got 2 football games, NFL, tomorrow night. You've got a slew of college football games, and we'll talk about that on Thursday. We'll see you.
Take me out to the ball game. Take me out to the crowd.